place that can be looked at by scientific means. You know, a lot of the early writings in Buddhism talked a lot about it being scientific, that it was based in science, in the science of observation and experience. So a lot of these things, these concepts or explanations of the way things are not so far removed from quantum physics and other parts of science nowadays. The interesting thing to me is that none of this stuff seems to be noteworthy. Nobody cares anymore because we've all been taught so well that the world is I use this, to me, this metaphor of a pile of dry bones is really poignant to me. It's like life is just a pile of dry bones. It is what it is, and it's nothing more than that. There's no mystery to it. It's just, you know, it's there. It's like, you know, knock on it and that's it. That's what it is. And even though science is continuing to progress and prove some of the spiritual philosophies, nobody's willing to take a second look and say, oh, well, but there is something more to life than this on that level, you know. I just find it curious, that's all, that we've educated ourselves right out of the mystery, and we're not willing to look at it anymore or to experience it in any way. And anytime anyone has any kind of experience that is not in the normal course of someone's life, people discount it immediately. It's like, well, you know, that was imagination. You know, children do this all the time. They come to us with stories of all kinds of things, and we just, oh, you're just imagining things. Instead of picking those things up, metaphorically picking them up and honoring them and exploring them and enjoying them and say, wow, there's more to life than just, you know, what there is. There just doesn't seem to be any interest in that anymore as time goes on, at least in the main course of life, especially in the Western world. We're all about rational thinking. We're all about that kind of mindset that puts off all things that are considered normal, I guess, is the, you know, I don't know, who knows what normal is? I mean, normal is something that everybody talks about, but I think everybody has a different idea of what normal is. So, but we all know what it is, you know, individually. We all know what that is, you know. So, I don't know, the blue sky thing I just loved. There are other symbolic metaphors that I've read about, like, you know, reaching into a stream, you can't grab the water. You know, you can feel the wetness, but you can't grab the water. You know, things like that are, I don't know. I think that those kind of things should make us pause. I think that they should be explored and see where they take us. You know, the story, what's behind the story, as we contemplate those kind of things, those can take us on this sort of little journey of discovery about what were things in our life that may be connected to that, or it'll be individual, it'll be different, but you know, just to think about those kind of things allows us to see what arises as we sort of take a little mental journey through those kind of ideas. It's in meditation, sometimes it's referred to as insight meditation, where you pick a subject, you know, you just pick the blue sky, and you sit with that idea and see what comes to you. And what does the blue sky mean? You think about, well, what is it? What is it not? You know, and that will just sort of lead you off onto this sort of discovery of things. One thing I've said for many years is I think that meditation is a very good practice to slow us down, but I also think that we should spend just as the same amount of time in what I simply call contemplation, which is just taking things and letting your mind drift through them and seeing where they take you and seeing if anything arises that's new and different for you in thinking about the things that we honestly don't normally think about. You know, I think those things are the things that open us up and allow us to grow. And when we start making those connections, they very quickly jump from our relationship, our own personal relationship with that idea, to a more inclusive relationship with the world at large. And when we have those moments of insight that open us up to the way things are on a larger scale than ourselves, that's when I think that they really mean something to us, because we feel like we get a little bit of a glimpse on how things really work. You know, and I think most of us, a good many people on this planet, spend their whole lives trying to figure out how things work. You know, what's the meaning? What's the purpose? Why are things the way they are? You know, and I think that's a basic human nature, part of human nature, that's there to simply lead us to continue to look until we find answers. If we didn't have that draw to ask those kind of questions, then we would never discover anything. There are basic things about the human existence, I think, that are hardwired into the way we exist. You know, the survival instinct, you know, things like that the questioning of what's greater than ourselves, those kind of things, I think they're there in our makeup to allow us to explore those things that are beyond our daily life. I don't know. I've always been that way in my life. All through my life, even as a little kid, I always wondered about everything. It's just, I don't know. It's just, you know, a natural inquisitiveness about what's going on, or how and why are things the way they are. Even the most mundane things. But you know, as you grow up and get involved in life and families and careers and all of that, a lot of that stuff gets put aside for years and years and years because you're busy doing things. But as we age and we get to that place where we have a little bit more time to spend, I think it's useful to explore those things. You know, it's a personal journey. It has nothing to do with, in my mind, it has nothing to do with any particular religion, philosophy, or practice. It's the human condition. It's just simply trying to see the relational aspects of why we're here and what we're doing, and trying to find a larger trying to find ourselves within a larger context in this life, and what that means to us, and what does that mean to those around us. One of the themes I keep talking about is this idea that there is life and there is us, and we have that turned around. We learn, I think, through our existence and through our culture and through how and where we've grown up, to look at the world as me and the world out there. And I continue to try and ask people to sort of turn that around and imagine life being more important than our own individual existence. And how does that change the way we look at things? It's kind of that 80-20 rule. You know, I don't know if you've heard of that in business. 80-20. The 80-20 rule is 20% of the people do 80% of the work. That kind of thing. So, and this is sort of the opposite of that is we think of ourselves having a place in this thing we call life as our 80%, and then maybe 20% of it is our interaction with everyone else. And I really think that to look at it from the other standpoint, that life in and of itself is the 80%. And we're the 20% of, yeah, we are individual, but we're more connected than we are individual. And I think that might be a good way to look at that, so that it's not an either or kind of thing. It's like a blending of the two and trying to find where that percentage makes the most sense for people in their lives.